but you're retired, done officially, right? But if there was
I'm
something,
officially retired, but
right?
you know, I say like I'll come for certain opportunities. I will fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I am joined by a guy who I'm a big fan of, followed his career for a long time, a retired mixed martial arts fighter, fought for some of the biggest promotions in the world. Paul Daley, how's it going today, man?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Excellent, sir. Excellent. So how's life post fighting, man? How's it been?
Relaxed. I'm still recovering from the last fight, to be honest with you. So I had the operation on the hand, just waiting for that to heal up, and then be off to train, but no, without purpose. Just training for fun and I guess just to keep the weight down. But yeah, life's good. I'm finding a sort of routine that's working for me, being a retired fighter.
Absolutely. Yeah. And how staying busy, I like that. How
Yeah.
was that hand? Was it anything too bad? Is there a timetable on
It,
that?
they say sometimes a dislocation is worse than a break, and it was a bad dislocation. The actual joint had gone into my tendons, and they were all messed up. So yeah, I had to deal with that. Had the operation, had a bar put in it, and yeah, it should be cool in about eight or so weeks. I'll just move room because my son decided to put what's it called, gaming with Kev on. So I'm just going to change rooms. 1 second.
No problem. Gotta let the kids do what they gotta do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I want to jump right into it, because I'm obviously a big fan and so are the people. You've been competing in
Yeah.
MMA for a long time. Like you're a pioneer
Yeah.
of the sport. I want to ask you, man, just from the start, was there a big difference for you competing, say, in the pre 2010 era to, let's say, up to your last fight now in 2022? Was there like a huge difference in those two eras?
The social media's changed things a lot. A lot more is expected of you as an athlete via social media, and I think that has created to some characters that are not really genuine, but are like playing for likes and playing for follows and stuff. Whereas the original guys that started out in this sport, fans liked us because we were ourselves. You saw what you got. There was no chance to pose by a Ferrari and take a picture, or on a private jet, or portray a life that might not be genuine, or talk shit on the net without consequences, because we're around each other all the time. The sport was a little bit smaller and you ran into these people a lot. Now all those things are true. You see guys portraying a life that isn't real, talking shit because there's no consequences other than making a fight, in the cage. Whereas when I started, if you're talking shit, it's the real fight when I see you on site. So, but it's the social media and characters like Conor McGregor, Sugar Shane and stuff. They've brought new eyes to the sport, and it has blown up, which is reflected in the paychecks, which is great for guys like me. It started out in an era where the money wasn't too fantastic, and I've been able to reap the rewards a little on the back end of my career, where I'm able to collect some of the bigger paydays.
Hey, amen to that, man.
Exactly.
So you fought some of the so let's talk about some of those old times, right? Well, I
Yeah.
mean, pre 2010 doesn't really seem like old to me, but like that time
Yeah.
just seems to fly nowadays, right? So let's talk about those times. You were in Strike Force and you fought some of the biggest names at Strike Force. Strike Force is obviously sort of a fan favorite now. I don't know if you could tell, like people love that time in mixed martial arts, that promotion.
Yeah.
Do you know, is there anything that you could talk about to what was so special about it that makes it resonate so strongly today?
I think obviously Scott Coker, and he's still doing it now. He put on the fights that people wanted to see with the pool of fighters that he had, and I think a lot of the fighters he had were real fighters. There wasn't many boring fights in Strikeforce. They were always entertaining. The shows were always fantastic. The entertainment side of things, Scott brought over the pride feel to things with the runway walk-ins and the fireworks and stuff like that. But I think there was an interesting group of characters at Strikeforce, and some quality fighters. You know, we had Gina Carano there. I think she was over the Strike Force. Or was that Elite XC? I might be getting my wires crossed. Maybe that was Elite
I believe
XC.
she was at Strike Force.
Oh, she was as well.
I know Rhonda was, right? It was
Yeah,
Rhonda.
Rhonda
Tate was there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, there was an interesting group of characters. Obviously, Nick Diaz, myself, Tyron Woodley. Yeah, it was interesting times.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Now to sort of talk about your career, right? Because that's what matters here.
Yeah.
So you, in terms of your career, when you started off, you weren't a guy necessarily, which is why I think your story is so fascinating. Is you weren't a guy that started off like undefeated or on like this crazy win streak, right? You had some early adversity, which what I would assume only makes the road tougher, right? To get all the way to the top as opposed to other people who are undefeated, etc. Was there a turning point in your early career where you were like, all right, I got to get my shit together, or where you were like, all right, this is what I'm doing wrong, and now I'm going to do this, and then that's when everything sort of made you become the Paul Daley of today? Of the
to be
Paul
fair,
that
there wasn't. I think my thing was that when I started out in the sport, although I had a short time as an amateur and finding my feet, as far as the rule set and stuff like that, I kind of jumped in at the deep end. And, you know, I wasn't a guy that picked fights because I was a fighter. If you offered me a fight, then I was going to take it. There's that. And there was a fact that I wanted to do this as a career. So any fight was offered to me, it was like I'm turning down money, and I needed money if I was going to do this for the long term. So there was no real thought to picking opponents. I just fought everybody. And then in doing this, I'm learning on the job. So learning how to structure training camp, picking coaches, picking sparring partners. And it was all on the job, without meaning it to be that way. Things just happen like that. And then, so obviously with the wins and the losses, people started giving me bigger opportunities, knowing that I'd take them because I'm learning on the job. But what they didn't realize is I was getting better. So then a few of these big wins started bringing my level and my name, and recognition in the sport started bringing them up. And even with some of the losses, that the fact that I fought so well, that even brought my level up. So I think that's how my career went. I'm learning on the job. People thought, you know, he has wins and losses, but, you know, he's exciting when he knocks people out. So we're going to try and take advantage of him. And sometimes it backfired, and then it started to backfire more frequently. And you know, I was learning more, getting better, and getting the fans behind me.
And that's exactly what I was actually going to say after that.
Yeah.
Is like, that's actually why I'm a big fan of yours. Because even when you lost, there was always something to it. It's like, oh, this guy's learning, or he was just probably shouldn't even have been there in the first place. Like, and that's why you've always been a scrapper. That's always why I've been a big fan of yours.
Yeah, that's what I say. I came into the sport. I am a martial artist, because I started in the martial arts, and that's where my passion was. But I've also been a fighter. I've loved to fight, since I was a kid, fighting on the streets, fighting guys bigger than me, you know, in nightclubs and shit like that, like you do when you're a kid. So yeah, that's kind of played out into the cage, and you know, you learn the techniques and you learn a lot of stuff, but you know, when you're deep down, you're a fighter and shit needs to get dirty. I'm prepared to do what I need to win.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of fights, scraps, was there a toughest fight in your career that you could think of just off the top of your head where you're like, damn, that was a rough one?
The fight where I felt it the most afterwards, because, you know, wins and losses, I generally come out unscathed, you know, but in terms of feeling like I've been in a fight, has to have been the fight against Douglas Lima. That's the fight where I was most banged up, you know, lumps, bruises, walking around post-fight stiff, limping. I was real messed up after that fight, but I enjoyed it because I knew what level he was at. And I pushed him for those 3 rounds. Bearing in mind, I was dropped in the first 30 seconds, having to carry on through the fight. He was kicking, he was punching. It was just, you know, I don't know if the fight looked as brutal as it was, because afterwards I was messed up. And I've been in there with the best guys throughout my career, but that was shit.
That's a great way
That's
to
the only
describe
way
it.
I can describe it. Afterwards, I was that, and how many fights? I've 60 plus MMA fights, 20 plus kickboxing fights. That's the worst I felt after a fight. So,
Crazy.
Douglas Lehman, that was a tough fight.
That's crazy for you to say,
Yeah,
considering how many, fucking
yeah,
fights you've been in, man. It's
yeah.
insane.
That
So
was the worst. Yeah, physically.
you hinted at fun. Was that the funnest fight of your career too, or no?
It was.
Or is it ever fun in there for you? I mean,
Yeah, it was. But one of the most fun I've had in most fun I've had in a fight is probably a fight that not many people seen was in Bama. I fought a guy called Jordan Radev who was on the Bulgarian Olympic wrestling team. Short, tank, tough. Had wins over Alexander Shulmenko, knocked him out, the former Bellator middleweight champion and Grand Prix winner. And yeah, it was fun because the guy just wouldn't stop coming forward. I hit him with flying knees, kicks. Every tool I had, I hit the guy, defended his takedowns, coming off and kicking him in the head, and he just wouldn't stop coming forward to the point where it was almost comical because he was just unstoppable. But yeah, that's probably the most fun I've had in a fight because he was tough.
and then was there ever a guy where you were like, dude, I just want to smash this guy, I hate him? Anything like that, or no? Or maybe it wasn't like that for you. It does. There's a lot of fighters. I've interviewed fighters who are like, no, I never really had any beef with anybody or anything like that. It's, just been nope, just business.
Yeah, for me, there's no one I genuinely disliked. I'm trying to think if there's anyone I was like, I don't think there is.
Because I'm trying to think too.
Even Michael Page. Yeah, even Michael Page, like, I disliked him, but not to the point of where, it wasn't, there was no malice to it. I'm just like, I
that
brushed
just
it
felt
off as being a
competitive to me.
joker.
Right. That's why
Yeah,
I was asking.
there was no real, no malice or anything to it, but yeah, it's just a sport. It's a sport for me. Yeah, it's just a sport.
I hear you. So last question about the matchups. Was there ever a dream matchup that you wanted to have, a guy you've always wanted to step in there with and just didn't get to go in there with?
There's a few. In his prime, Diego Sanchez, which is crazy. Carlos Condix, I was
That
supposed
would
to
have been a fight. Diego
Carlos
Sanchez.
Condix, Carlos Condix, I was supposed to fight him.
Yeah,
Robbie Lawler, because he's a legend of the game and a man after my own heart and just wanted to knock people out. And then there's even guys now that I'd like to fight. Gilbert Burns, I'd like to fight him. Colby, I'd like to fight. Yeah, there's certain guys. The guys of the past I didn't get to fight, but there's still guys now that if I had the opportunity, they came to me. Like even at 39, I'd be like, I'd like to fight. Not necessarily because I think I'll blow these guys away or knock them out, but I think the matchup is interesting. It'll be a good one for the fans.
Like, so you're retired, done officially, right? But if there was
I'm officially retired, but
right.
I say like I'll come for certain opportunities. I will fight, not like fight, go back to retirement, another opportunity come fight. And no, if a big opportunity came, one where it's like, I don't know, the Ukrainian champ, who's the guy who recently won against MVP? Logan Storley. Maybe Logan Storley can't.
Storley.
Yeah, Storley can't fight Amaskin or however you say it, or there's I'll fill in. If the money's right, a belt's on the line, I'll fill in. Or it has to be a legendary name for the right money. I'm not going to come in to fight Joe Bloggs. It has to be, a title opportunity. I know maybe I'm not deserving, but there's times where there's nobody else. I would happily step in and challenge for the title at Bellator because it's something I've never got to do. Or away from Bellator, a legendary fight, rematch with Nick Diaz, Tyron Woodley, Jorge Masvidal, things that are really unlikely, but you never know. Never say never. Those are the type of fights that I'll come out of retirement for. But apart from that, I'm not going to come out of retirement to fight another guy like I just fought. All due respect to him. Not that it's not tough, it's not competitive, but it's just not interesting. The only reason I was up for that fight, and is because I was training for Koreshkov. So the momentum was already going, but to get motivated for a lesser guy, it's just not there for me now.
Is there anything that you would like, let's say that BKFC threw a bag at you tomorrow.
Yeah,
Would you do
which
something like that?
they have offered it, but I think there's some clause that I currently have with Bellator. There's some things that we have to get around in my contract to be able to take the opportunities. Because I believe Bellator still has this feeling like I'm going to come out of retirement to fight Joe Bloggs, which I'm not. Would I help them out if the opportunity is there? Like I say, fill in for a title shot with the money that matches the level of competition. Yes, I would help them out, but I'm not. They think I'm going to come out just to fight some guy. No. So there's a few blocks that they've put in at this stage, so I can't make the most of opportunities like BKFC, which I have had. I've had opportunities from Eagle MMA as well. They've come at me. KSW for my whole career since I left the UFC, the Polish promotion. Even while I've been at Bellator, have been after me, and they're a small promotion in comparison, but their paychecks are better on some occasions for the right fights if I fight their right guys on pay-per-view. Where else? Yeah, the opportunities are there, but I just can't take them right now. I think that there's some hurdles that I may have to get over. But if Bellator want me to fight this, if they want me to fight, give me a crazy opportunity or let me fight, these bare knuckle fights or these, kickboxing fights or whatever. Give me something. If you want to use me still, then give me what I want. Otherwise, let me beat someone up with no gloves on.
Yeah. Is it fair to say that at this point you're looking for a bigger name, no promotion, regardless of promotion, you're just looking to fight a name at this or something worth it, right?
Because there's always that encore, I always think of the Jay-Z song Encore. I got to come back and give him a little something extra, but it has to be the right extra, or I'm retired. Like I'm not, like I say, no Joe Bloggs, no geezers. It's just not going to happen. The money has to be right. The fight has to be right. I know I've at least got one more in the tank. I can still perform at a certain level. So, but apart from that, I'm retired. So I am retired. If you're going to come at me with something crazy, get over the Bellator hurdles, and I'll give you one more. But because, one more paycheck never hurts. but other than that, I'm comfortable. If I want it to be done, I'm done. But, we'll see.
Do you think it's going to be tough to get out of the Bellator contract, those terms?
I think so. But I know that if it's not an opportunity where it be that I'm fighting, I know they have something planned for me in terms of commentary and stuff, which I enjoyed. Probably just work the European shows for them. But yeah, it would be pretty difficult to get around it unless they really had nothing else planned for me.
Let me ask you this. COVID-19 happened and it sort of aligned almost with your retirement in terms of timeline a bit.
Yeah.
If COVID-19 never happened, would you have retired earlier? Would you have retired later? Did it have any factor at all?
Yeah. The plan was to retire earlier, but it depends on the momentum that I had because, I had the Hamasi fight, which was great, a little setback, boring fight against Jason Jackson, credit to him for the win though. And obviously came back with this win. I forgot his name against the Brazilian from Pitbull Gym. It depends if that momentum would have had earlier because there's some significant changes that I've made in my training camp that I believe would allow me to perform at this level and even better. I believe I'm getting better still at 39. Tom Brady style. I still think I'm getting better. If the momentum was still going, maybe I'm still fighting now. I'm not retiring now, but I think that pause is kind of I've lost some a little motivation. And because I have things in place where I can stop, I just feel like maybe now is the time to stop. But if I had momentum, and the momentum can come again, as it was when they gave me Koreshkov, who knows?
Yeah. And what was it like to fight without the fans? You've been around for a while. I'm sure that was like
Yeah,
so weird
yeah.
to you.
It was surreal. That's the only way I can describe it. It was surreal. Obviously, it's still a fight. And then in my head, I thought the fans were here, still there, because there was some moments I could hear cheering. It was just my cornerman, Kenny Johnson and Charlie.
Wow. That's
But
awesome.
but
That's great.
it felt like there were thousands of people there. So it was mad. And then after the fight, that's probably the walkout and then post fight. But when you're in the fight, because you only tuned into your corner really anyway, you kind of thinking that the fans are still there until you're stopping it and you're like, there's nobody here. But yeah, it was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was different.
So when you did choose to retire, what was like the main reason? Or was there multiple?
Just timing, obviously injuries, feeling my joints a little bit more when I'm running, getting up, I'm lifting my weights, wrestling. I'm feeling physically tired is probably the only best way to put it. Just generally feeling tired, not in training, I just mean in life. And I think that's due to training and the physicality and demand of the sport. And I'm in a position to retire. But the thing that comes back against that is that I am getting better. I know I'm getting better. I'm still sparring and training with the younger guys, and I'm getting better, which is kind of sad to say that I'm retiring. But if like this is why I say if the opportunity is right, maybe. But I'm comfortable in my retirement. I'm not shouting to fight. I'm not harassing Bellator. I'm not harassing these promoters to get a fight. Like, I'm not happy in retirement. But I'm saying if an opportunity comes, I could get up to train for, then I would, because I know I still have something left there. But I'm at peace with doing nothing.
What I guess what would be on the horizon for you then? Because from what I understand, just hearing you talk, you sound to me like a guy who's like fighting is your life. Like it would almost seem
Yeah.
like it's fighting or nothing. Are you still planning on staying involved in the world of fighting? If you never fight again, are you still planning on being in the world of MMA, regardless whether it's coaching or things like that? Or
Yeah, well, coaching I've always done. So I still have my gym, Spirit Dojo Legacy. I'm still there, even now, there every day, teaching. I'll always do that. But as far as directly involved with MMA, attending events, shaking hands and commentary and all that shit, I'm not really up for doing that. The stuff for Bellator that I may be contracted to do, like I say, the European shows commentary, I'll do that. But I'm not seeing it as a career. It's like, okay, so I've got to do it for 12 months. It's contracted. I'll do it for 12 months. But it's not something that I'm passionate about doing lots of commentary. I'm happy doing nothing. I have other interests away from the sport that I can pursue. But I will always train. I'm still training now. My hand's busted, so I can't punch, I can't grapple, can't lift weights, but I'm cycling every day. I'm running every day. And as soon as it's healed, I'll be back on the mats. I'll be back, training like I've always done my whole life, but just with no specific goals, just training because, like you say, it's all I've ever done. So I'll always train, but I'm not gearing up for nothing.
Paul Daley happily retired, but willing to take a fight if the opportunity presents itself, right? That's safe to say, right?
Yeah, but that's not a shout to all promoters around the
Correct.
world.
Right.
I don't want a fight. I'm happy doing nothing. If someone I don't know, in a lab is putting together some crazy tournament or some crazy matchups and they've got all the green lights from everybody's managers and, contracts that they're tied into and the money's right and they put on a massive show and that my name's featured and they make me an offer, I'll happily do it. But other than that, yeah, I'm good doing nothing.
So when you look back on your career now, where you stand, how does it feel?
Yeah,
Accomplished or sufficient, maybe a little insufficient? How does it feel?
I'm happy with my career. I know I'll always be remembered because of the way I switch people off. Nobody does it like me. And you just get that sense, okay, you get the odd knockout, but with the frequency and with the shock factor and wow factor and the way I make people fall, nobody does that shit consistently. You know, if I'm in a fight and it ends in a knockout, it's normally in a brutal fashion. So I will be remembered for those brutal knockouts and stoppages for sure.
Absolutely. And I just want to say to wrap up here that thank you. As a fan of MMA, I think you've done so much for the sport and pioneering it and just providing entertainment for my fans like myself. So thank you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you for asking for the interview. And yeah, I enjoyed it.